A lady said to me that I met once in New York. She was vice president of this company. She made big money. I don't think she finished her high school education. She was still young, with a young family. And I said to her, "How did you get here? This is a tough business. You make big money. You didn't graduate from high school. What happened?" And she said, "Well, let me tell you part of the story." She said, "Years ago, one day I asked my husband for $10, and he said, 'What for?' She said, by the end of that day, I had promised myself that I would never, ever ask for money again." And she said, "Yes, I am vice president. Yes, I do make big money. Yes, I am young. Yes, I did not graduate from high school." But she said, "I promise you, Mr. Rohn, from that day until this, I have never asked for money again." She said, "I started searching for opportunity, found it, started taking some classes, learned the skills, totally changed my life." I'm sure she would say that was one of the days that turned her life around. Sometimes from a delightful experience or a tragic experience, it can be the day that changes everything. For me, it was the Girl Scout that knocked on my door when I was 25 years old and gave me the big presentation about Girl Scout cookies. And I wanted to buy. She said, "It's only $2, several flavors." And with a big smile, she politely asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Big problem, I didn't have $2 in my pocket. So I didn't want to tell her that, right? I'm a grown man. I'm 25 years old. I've been to 1 year of college. I've got a little family going. So I decided next best to lie to her. I said, "Look, I've already got lots of Girl Scout cookies. I bought some, and we still haven't eaten all of them. They're in the house." She said, "Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much." And she leaves. When she leaves, I say to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I mean, how low can you get, right? Lying to a Girl Scout, that's about as low as it gets. So I promised myself that day it would never happen again. And that was a life-changing day for me, recognizing that I was not in a good position. I must start making my search. A guy climbs the stairs, and there's about 40 stairs to climb, and he finally gets to the top, sits down, and he's out of breath. And he says, "Wow, this is not good. I've got to do something about my health." So it can be something that simple. So he starts a little research program and decides to get his health in order, develop a good nutritional program, whatever. And from that day on, he says, "I'm not going to be out of breath anymore." One of my friends woke up one day, David, and he said, sitting at the yacht club, having a drink, sitting sort of in a fog, something spoke to him and said, "What could you really have done if you hadn't have been in this condition the last 15, 20 years of your life?" You know, he wasn't like an out-and-out alcoholic, but he just, he drank too much. And he started thinking about that. What could I have really accomplished? He wasn't bad enough to where he couldn't function. But he said that day when he thought back of what he really could have done if he hadn't have sort of stumbled around in a bit of a fog all those years, how his life would be. And he said from that day on, he never touched another drink of alcohol. Then he died about 5 years after that. But his wife said to me that last 5 years were the greatest years of our marriage, when that one day he woke up and said, "Wow, this is not good. What could I have done if I hadn't have been sort of semi-conscious these last 15, 20 years?" And that was a very special day for him. Sometimes it's a cataclysmic event. Sometimes it's that moment. Who can really explain it? Only the person it happens to, I guess, can really explain what that inner voice was that says, "I'm on the wrong track here. I wonder what I could really do if I kicked this habit or got rid of this obsession." So those are the days that turn your life around. Human beings are the only life on earth that has this incredible capacity to change the course of your life. No other life form can do that. Every other life form except humans seems to operate simply by instinct and the genetic code. In the winter, the goose flies south. How often? Answer, every winter. If you said to the goose, "Hey, it'd be better this year to go west," he ignores that advice. And the reason is because he cannot make choices and listen to advice of something that might be better. He has to obey instinct and the genetic code. But now jot this down, not human beings. Human beings can alter the course of their life. Human beings can live one way for 5 years, tear up that script, live a totally different way the next 5 years. The first 6 years of my economic life, I wound up broke. Second 6 years, I wound up rich. Someone says, how did you do that? Here's number one. I discovered I was not a goose. Someone says, don't you have to do the second 6 years like you did the first 6 years? And jot this down. No. No, you don't have to live the second 6 years like the first 6. You can use all the information and all the advice and repairing all of your mistakes and adopting a new and refined philosophy so that the next 6 years can be totally different than the last 6. No other life form can do this. See, if you were a tree, you'd be stuck. As a tree, if you used up all the nourishment that was around you and you couldn't change location, see, you would die. But that's not true. Human beings can change location, go north, south, east, west, live here for a while, live somewhere else for a while. So that's a note to make. You can greatly alter the course of your life. Now here's the next note to make. 5 years from now, you will arrive. The question is where? This is for mature people now. If you keep up your present disciplines and keep up the present pace that you're on, where will you be in 5 years? Boy, it's easy to say, hey, I haven't really thought about that. So now make this note. In 5 years, here's the probability. You will either arrive at a well-designed destination or an undesigned destination. Well-designed or undesigned. And I promise you, 5 years from now, you really don't want to arrive at an undesigned destination. Because you may very well wind up wearing what you don't want to wear, driving what you don't want to drive, living where you don't want to live, maybe doing what you don't want to do, simply because you didn't design a better destination. Key phrase, up front, the decisions are easy. Now, sometimes after we've lived a few years now to repair our mistakes and get back on track seems like a tough job. If you've messed up your health for 10 years, I'm telling you, it takes more than 10 days to get it back. But here's the key, and it's so exciting to talk to the teenagers. Make the note, if you start early, the fortune belongs to you. If you start early. All fortunes that are available to humans, if you start early, the promise looms large and the odds are heavy in your favor. Now, yes, it's possible to do some radical things starting late and still arrive with some good treasures and some good things. But when you haven't got that much time left, now sometimes the decision has to be so drastic people are not willing to make it and they're too tired and too weary and too ill. And say, look, I don't have much time left. It's not going to happen for me anyway. It's easy to take that attitude. But everyone here, we've got the time over the next 10 years. We've got the time the next 20 years. We've got the time the next 30 years to make some repair now in our errors of the past and set up some new disciplines. And I'm telling you, that's going to change everything. So, 5 years from now, I wish for you to arrive at a well-designed place. A place of productivity, a place that'll make you feel good about yourself, a place that'll give you honor and respect, a place that'll give you influence to touch other people 5 years from now that you couldn't do today. Where will you be in 5 years? Key phrase, we go the direction we face. We go the direction we face. If you start designing something at the end of this direction, sure enough, you will start going the direction you face. And we face the direction we design. Next phrase, direction determines destination. Destination is not determined by hope, it's not determined by wish. Destination is determined by direction. You cannot change destination overnight. You cannot change destination overnight. Which means you can't arrive at a 5 years from now place tomorrow. But here's what you can change today and overnight. You can change direction. And it is so fascinating what a little small change of direction will do. Let's say that you're here and you're headed this way. And 5 years from now, you'll wind up here. But here's how we individually can arrive at a new destination. Maybe right now by discipline or lack of discipline or direction, you're headed this way. But it wouldn't take much to change direction and head this way. So that in 5 years, you wind up here instead of here. And the difference now of getting off this track and getting on this track is not much. A few decisions in discipline, a few decisions in learning, a few decisions in change of behavior, change of habit, a few decisions in setting goals that you've sort of let drift before. Like I did at age 25, didn't have a list. I immediately started to change that. And I immediately started to change my direction so that very quickly I started heading this direction. In less than 7 years, I was a millionaire. And that was just my economics. And sure enough, when I met my mentor, I was headed this way. And here's where I would have been in 5 or 6 years. Maybe okay. My kids probably wouldn't have been starving. And maybe, we got clothes to wear and a place to live. But the joy of productivity and the joy of becoming valuable to the marketplace and more valuable to my family and valuable to my friends in my inner circle, all of that probably would have escaped me if I would have kept going this way. But I am so thankful for the circumstances and whatever else arranged it for me. Some things are arranged, we don't even know how they've occurred. For you to be here, do you imagine the chain of circumstances that caused you to be able to sit in this auditorium today? It's amazing. This had to happen, and this had to happen, and this door had to close, and this door had to open. And all of those things, for me to be here, for you to be here, I just didn't drop out of the sky, right? And you arrived here from all kinds of directions. Here we are. And so we just say, wow, part of that's a mystery, and we let it be a mystery. We don't even try to figure it out. We just say, wow, it's incredible. But now that we're here, how could we collectively and individually affect each other's lives? It's by doing just what we've done. Study, learn, teach, shake hands, trade stories, and do all the stuff. So that we can help other people as well as ourselves to make that small journey to a new direction. So jot that down. It's only a small journey to a new direction. Guess how quickly you can change your health? By starting to eat an apple a day. Mama said an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Let's say you've been ill long enough and you've had health problems long enough and you say, that's it. That's over. I'm going to now start a program. You don't have to really revolutionize your whole health life. Just start with an apple a day. You say, well, is it that simple to change your health life? And the answer is, yes. The key is just to start. You pick up a book on good health, and you get halfway through the book, and it says, now, dear reader, set this book aside, fall down on the floor, and see how many push-ups you can do. And then it goes on to say, and if you have not done that, why not give this book away? It looks like you're not going to do it. Come on, you don't have to radically do something. You can gain momentum and make changes as you go. Just start. Here's what happens when you start a new direction. Self-esteem starts to accelerate. It doesn't take much for you to feel good about yourself. Just committed to a new direction and you feel good. And an apple a day, committed to finally having a health program that'll make you the healthiest you've ever been in the next 20 years, all you got to do is munch on that first apple. And nobody even has to be around you, and you don't have to announce it to the world. But you munch on that first apple and say, this is the beginning of developing a health program that's going to make me so healthy I'll have the vitality to do whatever I want to do for the next 30 years of my life. Munch, munch, happy, happy, self-esteem off the scale. Now, if you eat an apple the second day, you become almost delirious, saying, wow, I'm on my way. Somebody said, just 2 apples? Says, look, you don't understand. Not only did I do it yesterday, I've done it again today. This is really proving to myself with no audience, no microphones, no nothing, just you and yourself. You've convinced yourself, I'm on my way to the healthiest I ever have been. I'm starting a new life. This is the 2nd day. I'm on my way. That's how easy it is to change your life. You don't need some dramatic vision. Just begin something. And maybe by health or by whatever other things we can think of to do, you just get back on a better track. Okay? It's a small journey to changing direction. The day you say, I'm going to change my health with my diet and all the rest, and I've heard that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, why not start with an apple? And the day you start with that first apple, your attitude can change, your self-esteem can change, and you can honestly say, I'm on my way. I'm never going to be the same again. I'm not going to walk the old road anymore. I'm going a new way. It just doesn't take much. An apple can do it. Something simple that you commit to and do it, and you can say, I'm starting to make the changes. I posed an interesting question. I said, could a young boy, 8, 9 years old, buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3? They all agreed that yes, he could. Go next door. Say, Ms. Brown, I've got this soap. Mom, use it. It's the best. She says you'll get great results. It's only $3. And Ms. Brown says, well, Johnny, I've got plenty of soap. And he says, you better let me come in and check. You don't have to teach kids sales, right? I mean, they're automatic salesmen. But they all agreed that a child could take $2 and buy a bottle of soap and then go sell it for $3. Now I said this poses some interesting questions. Here's the first question. Will he do it? Someone says, well, that remains to be seen. Even if he could, the answer is, will he? And that's true for all of us. We all could, but will we? Then I said it poses another question. Should he do it? That's a good debate. So they all agreed that we eliminated whether or not he could and started talking about whether or not he should or whether or not he will, which always remains to be seen. Interesting. It's not a matter of whether or not we can. Average person of average intelligence living in this incredible country can become financially independent in a fairly reasonable amount of time. The question is not whether or not they can. The question is whether or not they will. Then the big question is whether or not they should. And someone says, well, you should if you could. But that doesn't answer everybody's life. It said the sower went out to sow the seed, and sure enough, finally the seed falls on good ground, but some of the good ground produced 30%, some 60%, some 100%. And we say, why is that? Well, it seems like that's just the way things are. You say, well, couldn't the ones doing 30%, couldn't they do 100%? Well, maybe they could, but should they, or will they? It remains to be seen. Everything after the fact we can always figure out. He could have, but he didn't. We can always figure that out later. He perhaps should have, but he didn't. Someone says, well, sales would never appeal to me, so I couldn't buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3. But what if you had to support your family? You said, well, I probably could figure out how to do it if I had to. So it's amazing how little money and how easy the answer is to solving problems, earning money, making money, doing better. Everybody can, but not everybody will. So here's what I called it. The magic and the mystery. The magic is you could start at the bottom and go to the top. The mystery is, why wouldn't everybody do that? That's what the storyteller does most of the time, leaves so much to our imagination. I wonder why that is. That's good for conversation. What's unique, though, living in our country, there's so much example everywhere of what ambition can do properly channeled, that it hardly leaves anyone with an excuse not to at least maybe try. Or you certainly have to give up on the fact, know that it can't be done, which is not true. It is possible to start with $1 and become a millionaire. It is possible. It is possible to start with nothing and become something.
So at this point, Jim has established the fact that the process of life change is not a matter of ability. It is merely a matter of will. Everyone can, but not everyone will. Make the decision right now to be one of the ones who will. Stand apart from your life as a painter might as he surveys his work of art, and choose the area of your life where you know that you need to walk a new road. Now, if you've got that area in mind, Jim will conclude this session by giving you steps to transformation and bringing together everything he's discussed thus far. He calls it How to Turn Nothing into Something.
I've been doing a subject recently. Here's the title of it: How to Turn Nothing into Something. How to turn nothing into something. And here's a little gist of what I've been covering. First, to turn nothing into something, you start with ideas and imagination. Now, it's hard to call ideas and imagination nothing. How tangible are ideas and imagination? It's a bit of a mystery. So you can't really call ideas that can be turned into a hotel, ideas that can be turned into an enterprise, ideas that can be turned into the Salk vaccine, ideas that can be turned into miracle products, ideas. You couldn't really call the idea nothing. It must have some kind of substance. And imagination can't really be nothing. We call it nothing because it isn't tangible. It isn't like a podium. It isn't that real, but it is almost real. So to turn nothing into something, you start with ideas and imagination. Interesting. Ideas that become so powerful in your mind and your consciousness, they seem real to you even before they become tangible. Imagination that is so strong that you can actually see it. You can actually see it. When I built my first home for my family in Idaho all those years ago, before I started construction on this home, I used to take my friends and associates out to the vacant property and take them on a tour through the house. Is that possible? Is it possible to take someone on a tour through an imaginary house? And the answer is yes. I used to say, this is the 3-car garage, and the guy would look and say, yes, this garage will hold 3 cars. Right? I mean, I could really make it real, make it live. I would take them on a tour through the house. Here's the fireplace, and this fireplace is brick on one side and it's stone on the other side. I could make it real. Here's the rest of the house. Here's the kitchen with this view window. And they would look out the window as I took them on this tour. One day I made this house so real, one of my friends bumped his elbow on the fireplace. I mean, it was that real. So imagination, we call it nothing simply because nothing in terms of being tangible, but it is so real, it's almost real. So the first step is to imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. One of the reasons for seminars and sermons and the lyrics from songs and testimonials of others is to give us an idea of the possibilities. To imagine the possibilities. Now here's the second step of turning nothing into something. And that is to believe that what you imagine is possible for you. To believe that what you imagine is possible for you. And we become supported by testimonials that say something like, if I can do it, you can do it. And we start believing that. First, we imagine what's possible. Second, we start to believe that what's possible is possible for us. We might also believe because of our own testimonial. Here's what our testimonial might say. If I did it once, what? I could do it again. If it happened for me before, it could very well happen again. So we believe not only the testimonials of others who say, if I can do it, you can do it. If I can change, you can change. If I can start with nothing, you can start with nothing. If I can turn it all around, you can turn it all around. Then we also have the support of our own testimonial. If we've accomplished something before, if we did it once, we can do it again. If we did it last year, we could do it this year.
So those two things are very powerful. Now, they're not actual substance, although they're very close. One is to imagine the possibilities. Two is to imagine that what's possible is possible for you. Here's what we call that second step, faith to believe. In fact, one writer said this: faith is substance. An interesting word, that the powerful ability to believe in the possibilities that are possible for you. If you have faith to believe, that faith is substance. Substance meaning a piece of the real. Now, it's not the real, it's not the podium, but it is so powerful that it's so close to being real. So the writer said the faith is a piece of, the substance of, and then he called it evidence, substance and evidence. So it's difficult to call substance and evidence nothing. It is nothing in the sense that it can't be seen except with the inner eye. You can't get a hold of it because it isn't yet tangible. But it is possible to turn nothing, especially ideas and imagination. Now, if you believe that it's possible for you, that substance and evidence becomes so powerful that it now can be turned into reality. So the first step is to imagine what's possible. Second step, to believe that what's possible is possible for you. Now, here's the third step, and that is to go to work and make it real. You go to work and make it a podium. You go to work and make it a hotel. You go to work and make it an enterprise. You go to work and make it good health. You go to work and make it an association. You go to work and make it a good marriage. You now go to work and make it a movement. You make it tangible. You make it viable. You breathe life into it. And then you construct it. That is such a powerful ability for all of us as human beings. I just wanted to take the time to drop that in before I move on to so many other subjects. How to turn nothing into something. Now, here's the last part. It takes the disciplined activity to turn nothing into something finally. Faith without the activity serves no useful purpose. But faith invested into the activity creates reality. Once I understood that, I knew then it was possible to build a career. I knew it was possible to build good health. I knew it was possible to build a relationship. I knew I could participate in the constructing of valuable things, valuable enterprises, valuable things that would help and benefit other people. I knew I could be part of it, and I knew I could do it once I understood this formula. So here's the last part now. Appreciate now the disciplines that turns imagination into reality. Because without the disciplines, it doesn't work. The discipline is the last piece of the miracle process. The last piece of the miracle process is to do the work. To do the work of good health. To do the work of a relationship. To do the work of building this hotel.
In this session, Jim will get much more specific as he outlines the exact emotions and philosophies that are the major ingredients of a recipe we call a new life. He begins by discussing a negative emotion that, if channeled properly, can lead to incredibly positive results.
Disgust is one. My little story about the Girl Scout. I don't want to live like this anymore. It was traumatic for me. It was a traumatic day for me. I'm a grown man. I have been to college 1 year. I've got a little family going, and I don't have $2 in my pocket. I wasn't destitute, but I was behind on my bills, and once in a while getting a notice saying, "You told us the check was in the mail," those embarrassing moments. But that was sort of the climax that day when I said, this is not the way to live. So whatever it is, disgust. One of the big days that changes your life is decision making. I'm not going to be the same anymore. I'm not going to walk that road anymore. I don't want to be embarrassed anymore. I've been on my knees for the last time. That's big time. Those decisions that sometimes last for a lifetime. Some decisions are incremental. You make a decision to start the process, which is valuable. And then later you make the decision to continue. That felt good. That got good results. Why not continue? When I really started revolutionizing, especially my economic life starting at age 25, the early success locked me in for a lifetime. I got such great early returns. I don't mean overnight, but at the end of the first week, at the end of the first month, I started a little part-time adventure, age 25. You know, that's available to all of us. So disgust, I've had it. That's a powerful emotion. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. This is the last day. That's powerful. Then the day you decide to make the changes, do something different. I decided to read the books. I started a program of reading. Now I've got one of the best libraries probably of anyone that I know of. Life-changing decisions that last a lifetime. Then I think on some of that we need a little help, a little association. Two of the most powerful words in the world are, let's go do it. It's powerful to say, I'm going to do it, but it's even more powerful to say, let's go do it. Sometimes if you want to change your health, that's a good thing to say, let's do it together. You know, let's meet every Tuesday and every Thursday morning at Denny's and talk it over. How are you doing? Here's how I'm doing. How are you doing? I think that's valuable. Let's do it. Let's get better educated. I'll read a book between now and Wednesday. You read a book, and we'll get together and talk about both books. Okay, let's do it. See, where by yourself you may not do it. But if you had somebody like-minded, what's that ancient phrase says? If two or three agree on a common purpose, nothing is impossible. It doesn't take 2,000 or 3,000 or 200 or 300. If just 2 or 3 says, let's walk a higher road, let's do it, let's pull it off. The inspiration of camaraderie, working together, I've always used that. All of my enterprises since I was 25 years old have all been multiple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Let's do it. So powerful. Resolve says, do it or die. I'll do it until the results start to come. And it's always resolve with willing to face the unknown. Yes, I said I was going to do it or die, but later, here's what I discovered. So then you have to sort of rearrange, right? It's like planting corn in an acre of ground, and it never does come up. It never does come up. Somebody said, well, just keep on planting. Maybe you need a new acre. So maybe it isn't just persistence and do it or die. I'll plant every spring, by gosh, until I have a crop. Have you ever considered maybe you need a new acre to plant in? So that means, like later discovery says, wow, I've been at this now 3 years, nothing's happening. Then you say, I know I said I was going to do it or die, but I've got some better information now. I need to go a new road, try a new acre.
While emotions provide the fuel that launches your journey of life change, it's your philosophy of life that provides the foundation of that journey. Jim Rohn had to make several philosophical changes himself when he began to walk a new road at age 25. These same philosophies can also make a big difference in your life.
Now I want to pass it along to you, some of the philosophies that changed my life forever. Here's the first one. Profits are better than wages. Once I understood that, I got rich. Profits are better than wages. Nobody taught me that in high school. I went to college for 1.5 years. I never heard it. I'm 25 and broke. I'm not destitute. I'm broke. Too much month at the end of the money is broke. And I finally hear this philosophy. Profits are better than wages. Now here's the phrase that goes with it. Wages make you a living, which is fine. Profits make you a fortune, which is super fine. And you can live both fine and super fine. You've now got the mechanism and the ways and means to do that. Profits are better than wages. Guess what? I taught this in Moscow when I was teaching capitalism. You know, the communists had it all wrong. They taught that capitalism was, a big company that oppresses its workers. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. They had mentally lost it when they came up with this ridiculous philosophy. Communism taught capital belongs to the state, not the people. And we taught all these years what? Capital belongs in the hands of the people, not the state. That's why, of course, kids should pay taxes, because they can be capitalists, and all capitalists should pay taxes. And it doesn't take much to start an enterprise that makes a profit. I teach kids how to have 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. I mean, how long does it take? How long does it take to make a profit? I mean, a little ingenuity and you're on your way. So profits are better than wages. Capitalism better than communism. Communism said people are too dumb and stupid to know what to do with capital. So you must take capital away from all the dumb, stupid people and give it to the all-wise, all-knowing state. And let the state run everything. I mean, that was communism. And they devastated every country they touched. I've been to East Germany. It's taking $1 trillion just to clean up East Germany. They've already spent $500 billion. They got $500 billion more to go. I mean, every country they touched, and I've been in all of them, they devastated them all with their devastating philosophy. We teach capital belongs in the hands of the people. That's where the ingenuity is, to bring goods and services to the marketplace. But once I understood this now, it was so incredible. Profits are better than wages. Now, when I first was recruited, I'm a distributor for this little product called Abunda Vita. And here's what my mentor said, Mr. Shelf. He said, Mr. Rohn, you can start this miracle working business part-time. You don't have to go full-time, you can start part-time. And he said, if you'll devote, to start with, let's say 10, 12, 15 hours a week, where you'll start making a profit, here's what you can now say. I'm working full-time on my job and part-time on my fortune. Because profits lead to fortune. I got so excited about that philosophy. I'm working full-time on my job, but now I'm working part-time on my fortune. I found a way not only to make a living, you won't believe this, I found a way to make a fortune. Can you imagine what that's like then, to get up in the morning? To go to work on your fortune? Not to go to work to pay the rent, which is okay, but a chance to go to work to make a fortune? And I said, right now I'm working part-time on my fortune and full-time on my job, but it won't be long until I'll be working full-time on my fortune. Can you imagine what life is going to be like? Now, here was my first goal when I started, and that was part-time. I wanted to equal on my profits part-time what I was earning on my full-time job. This is called the magic of part-time. It is so thrilling for people to start working the business part-time, because now you can work on profits, and it doesn't take very long. If you'll really concentrate on those 10, 12, 15 hours a week, it won't be long if you really do it right and learn some of the skills I'm going to talk about. It won't be long until you can be earning as much part-time working on your fortune as you are full-time working on your job. I did that in less than 6 months. Now I've got an incredible invitation. I found a way part-time to work on my fortune, and I'm making as much money at that as I am on my full-time job. Would you like to hear my story? It was incredible. Now, here was my second goal, to make twice as much money part-time working on my fortune as I was working full-time on my job. And I reached that in less than a year, making twice as much money part-time working on my fortune as I was full-time working on my job. Now I've got an incredible invitation that won't quit. I found a way, through a unique opportunity, to work part-time on my fortune, and I'm now earning twice as much money as I am working full-time on my job. Would you like to hear my story? Do you imagine anybody would say, no, I don't care to hear your story? No. Everybody I said that to said, wow, yes, what are you doing? I said, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. Now, when I started making twice as much money part-time as full-time, here's my dilemma. I didn't want to go full-time. And why not go full-time? And the reason was because I didn't want to give up my electrifying story. Right? It was so powerful, nobody could resist the invitation to at least take a look. I didn't want to give it up. And I hung on for I don't know how long until it was, almost insane. And then finally, reluctantly, I gave up my full-time job. But now you can imagine the thrill and excitement of going to work full-time on my fortune. It was incredible. Here's the next one. Philosophy that helped change my life. It's not what happens that determines your life future. It's not what happens that determines your life future. It's what you do about what happens. All of us are in like a little sailboat. And it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It's the set of the sail. So jot this phrase down. It's one of the best to understand. Kids need to understand it. The same wind blows on us all. The wind of disaster, the wind of opportunity, the wind of change. The wind when it's upside down, the wind when it's favorable and unfavorable. The same wind blows on us all. The economic wind, the social wind, the political wind. The same wind blows on everybody. The difference in where you arrive in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, the difference in arrival is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. And that's what learning is all about, to set a better sail this year than last year. To set a better sail. The first 6 years of my economic life, I wound up broke. Second 6 years, I wound up rich. You say, well, the Democrats must have finally gotten power. No. It was not a political change. Here's what changed the second 6 years of my economic life. It was my philosophy that changed. The set of the sail of better thinking, correcting the errors of the past and picking up new disciplines for the future. That's all I had to do at the end of the first 6. Correct the errors of the past and then pick up some new disciplines for the future. And my total life changed. The second 6 years was totally different than the first 6 of my working life. And guess who can do that? Anybody. Now you can keep on the same path for the next couple of years as you have the past 2. But if you wish to, and maybe everything's okay for you and you don't need to, but if you need to make some changes, I'm telling you, you can start doing it today so that the next 2 years will be drastically different than the last 2. And anybody who wishes to do that can. And you can do it between ages 40 and 43. You can do it between ages 13 and 15. You can do it between ages 60 and 62. Any 2 years, any 5 years that you wish to drastically change from the previous 5, you can do it. If you wish to. Now, this isn't written. This is not a law. Here's what it's called, opportunity. But if you don't know you can change, if you don't know you can drastically change your income, change your future, change your health, change your marriage, change everything, if you don't know that, some people then go year after year after year after year not making much change simply because they didn't get to the class. They never read the book. They never went to the seminar. They never made the discovery. They didn't seek for the knowledge of how could I make my life better. And if you just rock along, I'm telling you it's okay. Anybody can live any way they choose, but I'm here to tell all of you that if you wish to, it's possible to make the next 3 years totally different than the last 3. And all you have to do is just a few things. So if you got that one now, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your income. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your fortune. It's the set of the sail. And that's why we gathered here today. Maybe I've got some ideas that'll help you with a couple of little things about setting the sail of your thinking that might drastically give you multiplied more benefit the next 3 years than you've gotten in the last 3. So it's not what happens. What happens to everybody. Chevron years ago brought me in to talk to management. They said, Mr. Rohn, you travel around the world and you're fairly knowledgeable. What do you think the next 10 years are going to be like? I said, gentlemen, I can tell you I do know the right people. So they all leaned forward and listened carefully. And I said, gentlemen, the next 10 years are going to be about like the last 10. The next season after fall is, I promise you that's not going to change. After day comes night. I promise you that's not going to change. Here's how the last 6,000 years reads. If you want to make a note of Jim Rohn's vision of history the last 6,000 years, here's how it reads. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. It's going to read like that, looks like, for the next 6,000 years. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. Now, sometimes there seems to be more opportunity than difficulty, and then sometimes there seems to be more difficulty than opportunity, but the mix isn't going to change. After expansion comes recession. But after recession comes expansion. Not to think so, see, is naive. And once you've got just a little of this stuff settled, then you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what to anticipate, so you can be ready. Now, here's the next one. Here's what it says. For things to change, you have to change. I was hoping the government would change, and taxes would change, and economics would change, and my boss would change and be more generous. I wished for everything to change, and my teacher said, no, Mr. Rohn, for things to change for you, you have to change. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Once I understood this altered the course of my life. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And here's the big one. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. You don't need less problems. You simply need more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Accept the challenge, because you can't grow without a challenge. You can't get rich without a challenge. You can't fly without gravity. You have to understand the challenge. But that's the key, is to now develop wisdom to overcome the challenge. Don't wish for less challenge, but more wisdom. And then here's one more philosophy to help change my life forever. You can do the most remarkable things no matter what happens. Humans can do the most remarkable things no matter what happens. Philosophies that changed my life.
To complete your life-changing recipe, there are a few other critical ingredients that can make the difference: a remarkable attitudinal quality and 2 heartfelt questions.
I think one is curiosity, wanting to know, and of course that starts early, but it's a good thing to keep going all of your life, to be curious about what's happening, curious about human beings, curious about the setup, curious about human behavior, be curious about yourself, to be curious about government, politics, society, banking, money, Army, Navy, taxes, what makes things work, what makes a city work, what makes a government work. I remember years ago someone mentioned Russia might conquer China. I said, if you conquer China, what the heck would you do with it? Trying to comprehend how the world works, trying to comprehend how... I remember going to Manhattan for the first time. I was so awestruck. This huge city, and one thing came to my mind was, how does this city work? How does everything get in? How does everything get out? And how does everybody get fed? And when you have a salad, the lettuce is fresh. And I thought, how does this happen? It's a miracle how the city works. It's a miracle how the country works. How does an economy work, right? So that it stays on a steady course. And it's amazing. But if you keep that kind of curiosity going, and then simply be curious about your relationships with other people, yourself sitting at the conference table, be curious about how you could get into the inner circle where they talk about incredible things that affect, business, commerce, society, and the world. And I think that's probably number one is curiosity. I think probably what served Tony Robbins, who attended my seminars all those years ago, the attitude was an incredible, insatiable appetite for learning. And I think if you got that, that's it. That's part of curiosity. You just want to know. So reading the books was no problem. Going to the library was no problem. Going to class and taking notes was no problem. Then I think the third one was to immediately start putting some of it into action. Not to wait till you know it all, but to do what you know and let the rest be unfolded and revealed. The illustration is, on a foggy night, if you can only see 100 feet, if you walk that 100 feet, now you can see another 100 feet. Take it a bit at a time. But for those components that really start someone on the road to success, I think that's it. Curiosity, appetite for learning, and willingness to put it all into activity right away. Then probably willingness to take constructive criticism, not put down, but criticism. It's okay
But here's another way to consider. If you just added this, I'm telling you, it'd make you twice as powerful. Somebody says, wow, I'll consider that. So there's unique ways to say it, and then there's, the blundering ways to say it. But if you can get people to give them credit for what they're already doing, add a few more things, a bit of refinement, that's it. People willing to accept that kind of constructive analysis of how they're doing. Those are some good components.
I asked two good questions, I think, that are really vital, especially for mature people. Number one, what's got you turned on? Question number two, what's got you turned off? Two excellent questions. Food for thought. Years ago, shortly after I met Earl Schoaf, I finally found out what had me turned off, and I got that cured. And I got enough reasons to get turned on. And from that day until this, no one has ever said to me, when are you going to get going? When are you going to get off the couch? When are you going to get started? I've never heard that since I was 25 years old. Once the fires were lit for me, they've never gone out. I've gone through my challenges from rich to broke and back to rich, and I've been through it all. But I've never had someone say, you got to get up from here and you got to get going. Never. And I don't really know how to teach it, and I really don't know how to explain it. All I know is if it ever happens, it's one of the great experiences of a lifetime. Get enough reasons to turn you on. And then just keep adding some more so that you never lack for emotional or physical vitality and spiritual strength to just keep going, to make your life as good as you can, go as far as you can, earn as much as you can, share as much as you can, be as much as you can to the people you love and care about, live as well as you can. If you once develop that thirst and the zest. But it's interesting. What's got you turned off and what's got you turned on? See if you can't cut loose from the stuff that's got you turned off. Maybe it's negative attitude. Maybe it's poor thinking. Maybe it's doomsday thinking. The whole world is going to the dogs anyway. Why try? A good sermon or lyrics of a song, conversation with somebody of value might help you turn that kind of attitude around. Like, it's never going to happen for me. Why not? Can a boy 8, 9 years old buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3? And say, yes, he probably could. So then that means everyone has an answer. Doesn't matter who it is. Everyone can. Not everyone will, but everyone can. And there's no reason why you can't.
da